Okay. Yes. Yes, it's time. We are here. We are here for WeHo Reads, Light in Our Hearts. This is the final WeHo Reads event of the season, and I am so thrilled to be welcoming a brilliant set of writers to help us bring light into our hearts. Bridgette, Bianca, Traci, kato-kiriyama, Cassandra Lane, and Shonda Buchanan will be sharing their words with us tonight. Kat Moore is here, who will be leading a moment of belonging with us all so that we can connect with each other. And I'm Cody Cisco. I'm the guy behind Bookswell, and I'm producing this year's event with the support of the city of West Hollywood. And, oh, this is going to be fun. All right. I think I'm ready. I don't know. Is anyone else? So here we are. I am going to do a couple things. I have a short story I want to share with you. I usually do this briefly, but I did want to share something that happened, which was really nice. A couple weeks ago, I did a reading with contributors to the Made in LA series, and Noriko Nakata, whose story is in volume 3, who is a member of Women Who Submit, who is part of the WeHo Reads event in March. She was there. She gave me a hug. And she pointed out to me that we had actually never met in person. And I said, I don't think of you that way, and which was kind of awkward. But what I meant was we had been sort of doing events together, talking online, like being, there for each other for a couple of years. And so I didn't think of her as this person in a box, a Zoom box, right? And it kind of gave me this nice little moment of feeling like, the stuff that we're doing over these last couple of years is, can sometimes feel remote, but actually like we're going to carry it with us forever, the good and the bad. And it was a nice moment. So I also want to share the results of the photography contest that we did. If you'll recall, let's see here. We make that bigger. We had Linnell George and Maricela Norte back in October, maybe it was September. It was September for an event on the city and photography, and we started a photography contest. Well, we had a couple dozen entries, and now we have a winner that I am so happy to share right now. No one's seen this before except for the judging team, so this is world premiere stuff. We have The Freedom of Self by Arpan Basu Chowdhury, and gorgeous image. It gave us all the feelings, and he is very grateful for the prize, and we're looking at where we might display this online. So with all of that, I think we're ready to hear from our fabulous guests. And I thought we would start off with Kat leading us through a brief set of Q&A focused on belonging. So Kat, tell us what it is, this thing, belonging, and maybe pose a question for us, and we can go in whatever order you want.
Yeah, first of all, can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Just absolutely thrilled to be in all of your presences and to know that this event even exists, something gathering around joy in the midst of what is going on in all of our lives in the world is just absolutely radical and incredible. So thank you for letting me be part of this. Belonging in the most basic sense is our first human right and most basic human need. If you've got a belly button, you belong here. You literally came into the world tied to another human being by a cord. That is our first and most natural state, and the one that we are constantly working to reconnect and retether to throughout our lives. And there's, it's as broad and deep as the human condition, but it's also a capacity that we have. We're wired to connect and to create nests of belonging for ourselves and each other everywhere that we are, everywhere we already are in the flow of our real lives on a moment by moment basis. And when we think about joy, there's probably lots of definitions of it out there. One of the ones that I love the most calls joy a pervasive sense of well-being. So not just happiness as an emotion and tied to circumstances, but joy as a kind of fundamental way of being in your life and being in the world, as having a sense of well-being, okayness. And neuroscientists have discovered that there's a switch in our brain that they've kind of in a funny way called the joy switch. And when that switch is activated in your brain, when you're experiencing joy, it actually brings all of your relational circuitry online. So if you have joy, you're going to be more likely to be open, to be confident, to put yourself out there, to be open to others who are maybe very different in lots of ways than you. And so there's a real amazing relationship between our sense of joy and our ability to connect broadly and deeply with others, with ourselves, and with the world around us. And one of the ways, there's probably a million different ways that we've all discovered in our lives that personally we can activate that joy switch for ourselves. One of the most common and shared ways is by recalling to mind memories that you have of being in a state of joy. Our minds are these powerful instruments, obviously, and the power of our memory, whether it's memories that we've observed, through observation of other people or bodily experiences of joy that we've had, our power to recall that actually can start to switch that joy switch in our brain. And what's so interesting, and then I'll stop talking about this and ask you all the question, but our earliest experiences of joy are pre-memory. So our conscious memories don't really start coming online until after 2 years old. But of course, we're having experiences 0 to 2, right? But they're more imprinted on us as bodily experiences. And in that 0 to 2 year range, all of our senses of self are being formed profoundly, primarily through how a caretaker or set of caretakers is holding us, messaging through our body care. You're meant to be here. I'm here for you. I love you. And through our eye contact. So they've measured between, say, a caretaker's eyes and a baby, if I was holding a baby. And when I look at the baby and message, I'm delighted in your pure existence. You're a good thing and you belong here. That baby reflects that back. And then the caretaker, it's a loop that builds on itself thousands of times per second without any word being exchanged. And so that sense of the baby, for example, being a twinkle in the caretaker's eyes and vice versa is what we're actually trying to replicate for the rest of our lives, whether it's a friend or a coworker or someone at the bus stop with us. We're looking to look at someone and see if we're a twinkle in their eye and offering that as a gift to others, validating their sense of their belonging in the world, their right to be here, and the goodness of that. And so I thought it would be cool to hear from our amazing readers if you think about your life observationally or as an embodied experience, who has been the twinkle in your eye? Who lights you up with joy just when you look at them? Or if you would prefer to answer, does someone come to mind whose eyes just always seem to be twinkling? That they're just a person that's just kind of been captivated by joy as a way of being in their life. And whoever feels like they want to start can just start. And then whoever wants to jump in thereafter, feel free.
Can I say both my grandsons? But the first one, first and foremost, because he was the first grandson that I have come into this world. And he always has this mischievous, like reflection, like, I know you love me no matter what. Look. And my look back is, yes, I love you no matter what. Don't try me. So I mean, he's my daughter, of course, but there's something about that grandchild that just brings ultimate pure joy. And maybe because I didn't have to change all the time, but yeah.
Thank you.
I love that. And I can't wait to be a grandmom. Like, I don't know. It's I've just romanticized it so much. And who knows if that will happen. But I just imagine that being such a special relationship. I was super close to my maternal grandmother. And I think to answer the question, I will go back to my ancestors, even though they're no longer physically here with us, because I wrote about my ancestors, particularly the story Where Bridges was about my great grandfather being lynched. And so many people have worried about reading it because it's they feel like it's going to be, this drain, this heavy, heavy thing. And I wanted to get their stories down, to record that story down, to imagine that story, but not so much for the tragedy, but also for the joy that was taken from them, the love, the romance, the sensuality. And so when I think about a twinkle in someone's eye, I remember my great grandmother Mary. I was 11 when she passed, so I remember her very well. And I just remember her talking about Burt Bridges a little bit. She wouldn't tell what happened to him, but when she talked about Burt Bridges, if you could get her to talk about him, it was about how beautiful he was, how handsome and fine he was. And she, even to her deathbed, she was talking about how beautiful and fine he was and how much they loved each other. And so that twinkle of sensuality and seduction and the memory of that love is something that I wanted to capture.
That's amazing. I think I'm thinking about ancestors too. I was like, oh, I should say my partner Joyce or my cat Brownie, because they do give me a lot of joy. But I'll show this photo. This is Mr. Jim Matsuoka, and he's an elder in our community, really progressive guy, and he just passed away a couple weeks ago. So he's just on my mind constantly. And but all of my memories of him are just filled with so much joy, so much power, so much fire. And I think about him a lot. And it's interesting when you're saying, Kat, what you were saying about joy and that the right to belong. We were just having a meeting yesterday about his celebration of life that we're going to have in January for the community. And we were like, we should make stickers, like a Jim quote. And someone just shared with me that he would always say, like, no one has the right to tell you that you don't belong. And he grew up in a community, in a country that constantly told him that he doesn't belong. And so he was about that. He was about that for the rest of his life, about making sure that everyone knows they belong. So
Incredible.
I had to share about Jim.
Sorry for your loss too.
Well, I'll pop in here. I thought about this question kind of all day. I'm like, who do I pick? And I was running through the babies in my family and my parents and various people. And I kept coming back to my grandmother. My maternal grandmother is my last living grandparent, and she is the oldest person in my family, and she has dementia. So oftentimes she knows we are someone, and she knows who I am, I guess, enough to get by in the conversation, but sometimes she doesn't. And there's really only one memory that she recalls every time I see her. It's the exact same memory of me as a little kid, and she lights up to tell me the story, right? And every time she gets some of the details wrong, because it was a fire started somewhere, and I said, oh, there's going to be a fire. And she was like, what do you mean? And we walked around the corner, there was a fire. And the neighbor was like, never guess what's going to happen again. Like, you're just like, what's happening? This kid is losing it. My grandmother always calls it a storm now. She always says, Grandma, it's going to storm. In the story, she's like, my little voice, Grandma, it's going to storm. And it was never a storm. It was always a fire. But I let her say it was a storm because whatever, she remembers me. It doesn't really matter what she remembers, but I know what she's remembering, and she knows. And in that moment, and she tells me like twice, at least in a conversation, it works. And so for a person whose memory is slowly, and we're actually rapidly leaving, and things are not permanent as they used to be, and life is very different, for that brief moment of me showing up to say hello means she gets to remember that 3 times, 4 times in the conversation, while she might not even remember who I am all the way, is brilliant. It's the sparkle in my eye. It holds me over. until the next time I see her and she remembers it again, or remembers it in her own way again the next time. So I actually wrote about it. So I guess I'll read that poem tonight. I wasn't planning on it, but I'll break it out. That's something, because I'm an only grandchild. So obviously I'm spoiled. And so that's a wonderful thing to be remembered. And so hopefully I'll keep remembering that part too.
Everyone, thank you for sharing. That was beautiful. Kat, thank you for instigating us in our memories and the moments of connection. Bridgette, let's stay with you. Let's kick this off. I'll do a brief introduction and then we can roll. Bridgette Bianca is a poet and educator from South Central Los Angeles. Her debut book of poetry, Be Trouble, published by Writ Large Press in 2020, is a powerful love letter to oft-overlooked Los Angeles, one that offers as much danger as it does glamour, as much grit as beauty. And I have been looking forward to hearing you read for a while again. So take it away.
Thank you, Cody. And thank you everyone who's watching at home. So I will begin with the poem about my grandmother. At least today she remembers you. Kind of. Today she introduces you as her niece. She says, "Remember my brother? This is his daughter." And you say, "I'm your granddaughter." And she says, "Oh yeah, that's my baby." Today, you wait until you are in the bathroom at your own house to cry. Today, she remembers that time when you were a little kid, when you predicted a storm. You remember that it was actually a fire, but at least she remembers you today. You won't wait until you're alone to cry. Who has time to wait on tears? Who has time to waste on tears? Today, she calls you Brenda, your aunt's name. So close to Bridgette, but still the wrong name today. Before you can shake your head after she calls you Brenda again, she corrects herself in the same breath. Today, you hold your breath, hold your smile, as if she is capturing your image for the first time. Maybe the last time it sticks. So many versions of you in her mind are already fading and curling at the edges and so blurry. So you stand still. Today, you convince yourself dementia makes a meal of her memories because they are so sweet. And that is for my grandmother. I made it through without crying. That's pretty good. The next poem I want to read is actually in a shorter version in the new issue of Sin Cesar, formerly Dryland, a literary magazine birthed out of South Central LA, where I live, where I'm from. And so I'm really proud of it. And so here's the extended version just for you. It's called Remember the Fire This Time. 1992, South Central Los Angeles. I am 5 years old. Mr. Lee owns the liquor store across the street. He isn't Black like me, but Lee is also my father's name. And because of this, I think Mr. Lee is a nice man. And he is. One time, I put a dumb lollipop in my pocket before leaving the liquor store. And my mother walks me back over, makes me apologize to Mr. Lee. He lets me keep it, but I cry just the same. Latasha Harlins is 10 years older than me. Her killer gets 10 years and then doesn't. A bottle of orange juice costs $1.79, or a 15-year-old's life. A dum-dum can easily cost a kindergartner, but I don't know that yet. Mr. Lee's liquor store doesn't burn down, but on our big console TV, everything is on fire. Mr. Lee closes early on those nights. One night, or maybe every night, I see the neighborhood butcher and his friend sitting at a card table in front of the store. The butcher and his friend look like my uncles. The butcher and his friend have shotguns in their laps. My father walks over with fresh coffee in one hand, his baseball bat in the other. Maybe the butcher and his friend are my family. After all, maybe Mr. Lee too. I am 5 years old and waiting for Soul Train, but the news is always on, is always breaking, is always busting a lip, is always fracturing a rib, is always blacking an eye, is always reporting live, is always reporting dead. The preachers on the news call for love and peace, but maybe they are missing something. I always shout, love, peace, and sitting on my knees, too close to the TV, eyes closed tight, just like I was taught to pray. And my children's Bible says, on the seventh day, God rested and admired what he had done. Maybe the unrest lasted 6 days so we could gaze upon our creation and say it was good. And so that is Remember the Fire, this time, shortened version in Census-R, issue 12. Next, I would like to read another poem that's not in Be Trouble and then one in Be Trouble, okay? This poem is called They Shot Jacob on Kobe's Birthday. And I wrote this in the event of Jacob Blake being shot and surviving. But now that more decisions have been made about the officers who shot him, I think it's time to talk about it just a little bit more. They shot Jacob on Kobe's birthday. And I wonder where Jacob's people were from before the Great Migration carried them north. Maybe they from down around Cane River like my people. Blake is a family name for me. I am but one Black man removed from being Bridgette, Bianca, Blake. That man, a young bull who married a baby doll, a Blake who turned out 7 youngins, 4 boys and 3 girls, one of which, my mother, took my father's last name, who has his mother's last name. And I never knew his father, a Black man removed from this world before I even knew he was in this world. And Kobe was my father's favorite. And when he was a Black man removed from this world, my father whispered, he felt like my son. And he mourned a man he never met but watched grow up on television. I wonder what will happen to the youngest Bryant girls when they grow up and watch Kobe on television without him in this world and realize they never really knew their father, will never teach them to fly with a basketball like Gigi, who flew with him that Sunday morning. And who will teach Jacob's sons how to fly? Will they remember their father like Christopher Reeves is still Superman even from a chair? Will they ever forget? 7 is the number of completion. On the 7th day, our Father, which art in heaven, rested, and it was a Sunday. Kobe's birthday was a Sunday, and he died on a Sunday. And maybe Jacob taught them to call on ancestors to guide them to yell Kobe when they took a paper shot at a wastebasket. It was a Sunday when the officers took 7 shots into Jacob's back in front of his son's faces, pressed against the window or the floor of the car, too scared to call on the ancestors or to believe Superman could save them. And so that poem can be found on culturaldaily.com. Hopefully we will have justice for Jacob Blake and his family, hopefully soon. The last piece I want to read here, and thank you again, Cody, for inviting me to this, and thank you. I cannot wait to sit back and just let everybody else wash over me because they're just so daggone good. I am their biggest fans already, so that's that. This one is from Be Trouble. Be Trouble will be celebrating 3 years in February, so maybe we'll have a party. We'll see what happens. Okay, we'll see what happens. This one is called Some Heroes Wear Their Do-Rags with the Capes Flapping, and it is a poem I wrote after watching Black Panther 6 times in the movie theater. And as I just watched Wakanda Forever this last week and got a chance to mourn Chadwick Boseman and King T'Challa with people across America, honestly, I want to honor him tonight with this poem. This is how Black people have survived, part 1. The colonizers' greatest mistake was underestimating our power. All they needed to see was our talented tenth to know that we were too dangerous to be left unregulated, unfiltered, unconquered. And so they did, or so they thought. But we still here, still David and his sling, still Harriet and her rifle, still John Henry with the hammer, still Jesse Owens whooping a Nazi's ass, still Ali whooping Uncle Sam's ass, still Michael Jackson on the moon, still Katherine Johnson with the math, still Michael Jordan with the rock, still Dr. King taking a knee, still Kaepernick taking a knee, still Rosa Parks taking a seat, still Mahalia raining down heaven, still Richard Pryor raising hell, still Fred Hampton with the bullhorn, still Octavia with the pen, still Malcolm X headed to Mecca, still Chadwick at the Mecca, still Chadwick at the Mecca, still Chadwick at the Mecca, still Ta-Nehisi at the Mecca, still Morrison at the Mecca, still Zora when she's laughing and Zora when she's looking mean and impressive, still Barack Obama on the Capitol steps, still Audre Lorde reminding us that she is not free while any woman is unfree, even if her shackles look like Cuban links, still Assata in exile, still Langston in Paris, still Baldwin in Paris, still Josephine in Paris. The time for running has come to an end. Stokely Carmichael said, tell them all the scared niggas are dead. We still T'Challa to the bullshit. We still T'Challa to the bullshit. We still T'Challa to the bullshit. We still Jesus on the third day. As you can see, we are not dead. This is how Black people have survived, part 2. The colonizers' greatest mistake was underestimating our resilience. We've been minding our own business and mining something stronger than vibranium, reaping and sowing something better than King Cotton. We've been digging for something blacker and slicker than oil. What's understood don't need to be explained. Put some respect on our name. We are Wakanda. We ain't never been conquered. We been Wakanda. And death is better than bondage, but you can't chain us. And no matter how hard you try, you can't kill us all, and you can't beat this Black off us, and you can't shoot this Black off us, and your walls ain't high enough to keep us out, and your jails ain't tight enough to keep us in. February ain't long enough to get us right. We be Wakanda, and just because we be magic don't mean we don't be real, and this ain't no superpower. This is Black power, and all power to the people. Peace and freedom to the world. Thank y'all.
Yes. Thank you, Bridget. Oh my God. Extraordinary. Be Trouble is a fantastic book of poetry, and you can find it wherever books are sold, but you can also find it at bookshop.org. You can find it at BookSoup. You should have it. It's phenomenal. This is the point in our program where I pause and say thank you to our sponsors. The additional support from the UCLA Writers Extension Program, UCLA Extension Writers Program, actually, is essential for making this happen, along with the generous support from the City of West Hollywood, of course. We're also grateful for poets and writers who support us through their mini grants program. And we have some media partners to thank, including BookSoup, bookshop.org, and the Los Angeles Review of Books. With that, I am going to turn it over to Mike Che from the city's arts division.
Hi there. Thank you, Cody. As Cody said, my name is Mike Che. I am from the arts division of the City of West Hollywood, which is the presenting sponsor for WeHo Reads. Thank you all for joining us tonight for the last event of the 2022 season. I'm sure Cody will talk about this a little bit more later, but we're already planning our 2023 season. I encourage you to mark your calendars for the kickoff event of 2023, which will take place on Wednesday, February 8th. We are going to bring together all of the readers from this year and from next year together for rapid fire readings and chance for networking, socializing, celebrating, and being in the presence of one another in person. And that'll be taking place at 6 p.m. Wednesday, February 8th at the City Council Chambers, which is right underneath the West Hollywood Library. So mark your calendars. You've got a couple months to save that date. I am honored to be able to read the land acknowledgement for tonight's event. As part of our event, we want to make sure that we acknowledge the traditional caretakers and stewards of the land on which we meet. The land that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabrielino Kizh peoples. We recognize that people are joining us from all over, so I encourage you to look up the native peoples of your whatever lands you are on right now at native-land.ca. And land acknowledgements are only one way to recognize our history. It's a first step in beginning to change the way that we view the land and discuss land stewardship, rights, ownership, and management. This is particularly relevant this month. As we know, November is Native American Heritage Month, and also next week is Thanksgiving. So yes, please take a moment in your own way to acknowledge whomever is the traditional caretakers of your land. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, I do want to say thank you to a few people. Thank you, first of all, to our readers for sharing their words, their very powerful words, and their time. And their spirit. So thank you. Thank you, Cody, for organizing 2022 WeHo Reads and coming back for 2023. You did a wonderful job. And thank you all to the audience for attending. And of course, we can't do this without the support of our very art-friendly, art-supportive City Council. We do have one of our City Council members in the audience today, so we'd like to bring him on to say a few words. And thank you to the City Council for always supporting WeHo Reads.
Oh boy. All right. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. I'm in my car because I've been in traffic for 2.5 hours. So welcome to LA, but I've been listening to you all. You are not here to listen to a politician, but boy, every time I come to one of these events are my favorite to come to. I say, now, John, you cannot buy any more books. you cannot do it. But boy, oh boy, am I headed to probably Book Soup on Saturday. And so thank you, supporting our local amazing artists, our local amazing booksellers, and all of you. I say this at all these events, but we need a little bit more joy in this world. We need to remember who we are in this world. We need to remember what we're fighting for, what we do. And these events always bring that little spark of joy and energy to this world. And that's because of all of you. That's because of all of the work that you do and the emotion and love that you bring out into this world. So I just want to say thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to you all because I'm just so excited for the rest of the program. So thank you. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, John. And after that interlude, we're back and we are turning the show over to Traci. Traci Kato-Kiriyama is a multidisciplinary artist, writer, author, actor, arts educator, and community organizer. Her recently published book from Writ Large Press, Navigating Without Instruments, is a collection of poetics, micro essays, and notes to self and other, a journey of several years navigating through death moments, past present tensions of war and violence, trauma and ideation, excavation and memory. I remember around this time last year, Sakaya Manning told me, you have to get in touch with Traci, you have to get in touch with her. I was like, all right, let's do this. And since then, in addition to reading your book, I saw your conversation with Imani Tolliver, which was beautiful. And I'm just super excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. This is a total honor. I always like to have gallery view. I'm gonna do gallery view because my face is too big on that screen. I was thinking about, the road to joy. And so I thought that I would read 4 pieces from Navigating, kind of tied to Los Angeles. I think when I think about my essential joy, I come back to the folks here that keep me grounded, inspired, the folks that are on this call who definitely I think give us a lot to think about, to ride with, to work with. And so, yeah, these spaces are my very favorite. So, all right. Okay. I'm going to read this first one. It's called Los Angeles is Such a Scorpio. No, don't try to convince me with its Virgo assignment at birth. You want to know how I know LA is a Scorpio? You live here long enough and then travel out of town, then likely you at some point, definitely I, meet someone, usually somewhere not here, in the company of that person's long time or born and raised living place. And as soon as they ask, where'd you come in from? I can barely say Los Angeles, and there they go. People make all kinds of assumptions about us, passing judgment, brimming with accusation, fixed ideas, and increasingly negative narratives. And then you realize a half hour into the conversation, they've never spent more than a weekend or two, more than a Disneyland trip or stop in Santa Monica or the Venice Boardwalk or Sunset Strip or maybe Chinatown, but really just Far East Plaza. Nowhere, anywhere close to the bones of our arena. Nope, nope, nope. Just like that time an ex had screamed into the phone upon learning I am a Scorpio that they don't fuck with Scorpios ever. What's your sign anyway, San Francisco? Note to self, okay, at the very least, LA's Neptune has got to be in Scorpio. So Neptune, by the way, is the psychic planet of ideals, intuition, spirituality, and compassion, the domain of dreams and delusion. So, you know. Okay, let's keep going. How many of you out there like Little Tokyo, love Little Tokyo, have been to Little Tokyo? Good. Thank you. I'm so glad. I am very dedicated and committed to that community. And we have a series in Little Tokyo called the Tuesday Night Cafe. And you know, I've gotten to be there with a lot of artists over time, over the past almost 25 years. So I've just been an observer as well, you know what I mean? As much as a committed person and loving kin of the space. So this is really to what I call the invisible capes of Little Tokyo. You've seen them, but you may be distracted by the obvious. The kids in cosplay, attire in homage to beloved characters of the manga world. They come to Little Tokyo to feel free to be their inner anime spirit. Some in homespun costume with cardboard staff and older sibling graduation gown. Others heed to $400 corset with tulle petticoat and platform Mary Janes. I watch the tourists request photos with the best dressed. It is not Halloween. This is any day of the week. No anime convention necessary. The intersection is complex, a safe haven for the misfits of other parts of the city, and a year-round open season Japanophile fantasy land. But the richest scene comes when I stop and consider the less seen. My main attraction, the J-Town OGs, the Little Tokyo superheroes, the ordinary extraordinary who carry my history in their pockets and memories of when their attendance was undeterred by the dismal numbers roaming about past 6 p.m. I swear I see it all the time. The ghosts of J-Town past high-fiving the Little Tokyo pros of the present. The ones with shooting stars in the shape of 2 tennis balls guiding the front of a walker. The Nisei volunteers walking back to the museum with seed packets from Onzen Hardware and pride more complicated than war. The 70-something community organizer with a stack of meetings on her shoulders, the weight of battle at her ankles, and I don't give a fuck written all over her face. The Youngbloods building pipelines along 2nd Street, entry points on Judge John Iso, bridges this side of the towers for the next generation of youth, and the next and the next. Around their necks, they wear invisible capes the size of parachutes, armed with staff and sword in the form of plastic file carriers from Daiso and treasure maps of the 4x6 cardstock kind, donning satchels of bokashi compost and elixir of sake or espresso, walking the cultural spine through pumpkin patches, hanging with the wolves, cranes, and kings who share their loot with the whole lot. The next time you're in Little Tokyo, walk down First Street. Turn your head, look up, an invisible cape. Another one just passed you by. Little Tokyo, come out and hang with us next year. We're celebrating 25 years of TNC. We're the longest running Asian American public art series in the country. So I'm going to be asking all of you for special readings that I'm going to curate in our space. I swear, Bridget, you know, I'm planning a party. I got to plan a party for you on your 3rd anniversary. You know what I mean? Okay, two more. So this is an excerpt from this one section. There are like lots of notes to self, community, in the world. And so this is one section. So this is Note to Newcomer, Los Angeles Drives, Part 1. If you watch too many films like Crash or LA Story, you might never believe there are entire volumes of less spoken truths on driving in this city. I'll tell you one story. My friend Sefa takes care of a whole bunch of young people on the job over an hour from home, where he takes care of a whole lot of family with his family. That 1 hour to work and back, with his CDs, and yes, people still use CDs, and he has his special stack, curated better than your Spotify playlist. That is his personal den, his private karaoke box, his time. There's the other side of road rage, where I catch up, conference call, rehearse lines, head write, take naps between meetings, do accounting, pull over or not and actually write, public radio, podcast, audiobook through traffic. In LA, you have to get crafty with the bullshit. This is sometimes my only me time. This is road joy. And my last one, and this is for all of you for sure. Yeah, okay, Los Angeles. This city is not obvious. It is not that pretty either. You might not parachute here and land in amiable loveliness. For that, you will have to be dropped off elsewhere. Pick a different metropolis in the States: San Francisco, Chicago, Seattle, New York, of course, New York. Pick anywhere else if you want easy or logical or sensible. If you desire accessible strolls or subways from one neighborhood to the next. Ones where you don't constantly feel like the lone asshole crossing the street. You can, I believe, at just about any time of day or day of the week, go anywhere else and walk alone in the glory of that particularly architecturally beautiful city. I experienced splendor there in those places, my eyes dancing up and down with wonder, full of people watching, never having to actually speak to a one, just look and walk among them. It is, some say, all they could ever want and need. And if you agree, I say, go there. Remain there if it is most comfortable for you. Or if you must, or if you really want to try, you can come here. You can stay a while with Our Lady. You cannot just visit. You must actually stay for a time. You will need wheels. You will need a map. You will need an intrepid spirit. You will need patience and time. And most of all, and trust me, thank goodness for this part, you will need people. Los Angeles is not a standalone city. It is not in itself a jewel. It stands on the shoulders of its gems. The ones who know this city well enough to explain the difference to starry-eyed tourists. The ones who can traverse a hipster scene and spot the few raised in LA and the thousands who are not. The ones who know this city is a place that gnaws at souls until they crack just to see if they can take it. The ones who fight with the jaded for all they perpetuate to fit this city less themselves into stereotype and slivered screen. The ones you need to seek out and identify if you are to survive past 2 days without traps. Those who are looking out for you as you are searching for them, but you really have to mean it. The searching, that is. And once you are willing to work that hard, then suddenly you find the gems who love you back. And loving this city becomes easy. Trust me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Loving the city becomes easy. Finding the gems. Thank you, Traci. We're moving right along. Next up, we have Cassandra Lane. Cassandra is a writer and editor based in Los Angeles. Her first book, We Are Bridges, got it right here. A memoir is from Feminist Press, released in April 2021. So it's a toddler, I guess you'd say. We Are Bridges weaves personal and geographies, lineages, upbringings, and upheavals into a complete tapestry, validating her glorious existence as a Black mother. Welcome, Cassandra. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, WeHo Reads, and my esteemed fellow readers, writers, artists. Beautiful readings, Traci and Bridgette. I'm going to read just short pieces from those ancestor parts, since I talked about them in our joy conversation with Kat. This is Mary and Bert, 1904. In all her days of knowing him, Mary realizes Bert was never satisfied. Look around, she recalls him telling her once when they were sitting on the step of the uneven porch to their misshapen square of a house. This here shack we living in, Mary. Mary was offended. Yeah, but it's ours, she said. All the colored folks we know living in shacks. Some of the white ones too, but not all of them. It might be a shack, Mary said, but I make it home, Bert. She was thinking of the woods that backed up to the house, a forest of green that she could not, back then, ever imagine leaving. She grew up learning those woods, their scents and sounds, and the way they captured and held the waxing and waning light of the sun and moon. She looked at Bert. You know how to make ugly pretty. You know how to make ugly pretty too, she said. She pointed with her eyes to the flower beds he had planted for her, to her rose bushes, to the grass with its glowing yellow and side blades of green. She looked as around the post just above the berries. What pretty is in the eye of the beholder, I reckon, she said to Bert, trying not to sound petulant but failing. He shrugged as his eyes flitted over the plants and their fruit, his mind far away. Mary called him back to her with a tease. Hey man, you think I'm pretty? Or am I just a pile of rags to you too? She had intended it to come off flirty and flip, but Bert saw the shadows in her eyes, the uncertainty, the real question squirming beneath the playfully confrontational one. He ran his eyes over her face, her wide, wary eyes, her cheekbones, and broad, softly squared jaw. Her face was smooth and dark, like the polish she used to shine his best shoes, like the color of roasted coffee beans, where brown meets black, a magical shade. Her nose was strong at the bridge before flowing into nostrils that curved out like her hips, soft and firm. Her hair was plaited back into cornrows, leaving her high forehead as open as the sky. He followed her hairline down to her ears, perfectly shaped lobes exposed by her cornrows. His eyes fell to her long neck and down to her breasts, her waist and hips, her shapely calves. Mary shifted her body under his gaze. Well, what's your final appraisal, sir? Bert grinned with lopsided lips. You know what my ma used to always tell us? What's that? She used to say, he looked into Mary's eyes. She used to say, God don't like ugly and he don't care too much about pretty either. They laughed together. You know you're a mighty fine woman to me. Why, thank you, kind sir. I may be a little rough around the edges because I know how to do hard work, but I care about pretty. I take this life and this face and this body, what's been given me, and I try to make it as pretty as I can. I don't ask nobody for nothing. Your problem is you want too much, Bert, and that want can get you into a heap of trouble. Bert had grabbed his head with both hands and rocked his upper body back and forth as he groaned. Oh, Mary, Mary, you sound just like my pa, except. What if all this is a test, Mary? You Black folks are always talking about what God wants for us, but what if he is testing us? What if God is thinking, who gonna be down for the fight and who gonna lay down and take what they've been given? Mary sighed, rolling her eyes at this argument she'd heard over and again. Bert, ain't nobody laying down nothing. We just ain't all as high-minded as you. Old Sarge bounded from around the back of the house and sauntered up to Bert, laying his big floppy head over his owner's feet. See there, Mary said. Even old Sarge is telling you to stay put. Hold your horses, man. Bert bent over to ruffle the dog's head. You think that's what he's saying, huh, woman? Nah, I think what he's thinking is, massa, don't leave me. Take me with you and leave this hard-headed woman behind. Mary jumped up from the step and flung herself onto Bert's lap. Massa, she said, echoing the sing-song of Bert's voice. Please don't leave me behind. Take me with you. Whatever you do, I do. Wherever you go, I go. Bert leaned his head back and squinted his eyes as he took in hers, alight now with pure mockery. You know what else my pa used to say, he said, leaning back. No, I don't, because she wasn't my mom. Ha, well, Miss Smartass. She used to say a hard head make a soft behind. He squeezed her hip and she could feel him hardening as his eyes softened. She leaned her face into his. The dog shifted his weight underneath the couple, but he did not leave. The three of them sat on the porch watching the sunlight fade and the faint moon darken against the deepening sky. The familiar sounds from the woods surrounded them with their night calls, a sound that Mary found deeply satisfying and Bert regarded as an urgent message, one that screeched secrets and horrors, but he dared not spoil the evening with more of what Mary called crazy talk. He sat on the porch and let himself be warmed by his woman and his dog, by the earthiness of them. Comfort was temporary, he knew, and believing in the longevity of a comfortable life for a man like him in a place like this, that was downright dangerous. And then I'm going to read just a short, older piece, and it's kind of an imagined piece in their progenies or their granddaughter's life. It's called Strawberry Healing. Swinging empty buckets from the cradles of my arms, my lover and I crossed the acres of my ancestors' countryside at dawn, searching for strawberries, searching for remedies I may one day need. I have remembered Grandmama's fondness for the fruit's healing properties. I've come to pick the berries in hopes of mastering one of her many secret recipes, a body cream to smooth away the callous sides of life. Grandmama would simmer heavy milk, honey, strawberry grains, and a hint of cocoa powder in a cast iron pot until the ingredients reached a creamy consistency. I'd stick my index finger inside the pot to catch a dollop and rub the warm stuff into my skin gently. You smell good, child, Grandmama would say, just like love. I'd raise my forearm to my nose and inhale deeply. Hoping to get the recipe right for my wedding night and thereafter, I persuade my lover to leave the city for an excursion to the country days before we exchange vows. We walk now across the acres, love bugs clinging to our clothes and the strands of our coarse hair. We don't swat the sticky insects away though. We just keep walking, my long skirt raking a path in the wild grass. A half hour later, we push past an untamed brush and discover our treasure, long forgotten patches of strawberry plants lining a rusted fence. We bend, picking the berries, peeping beneath the green leaves, examining the imperfect red lumpiness with our pinkies, loving the feel of the plumpness, teething the tips, squeezing the juice onto our lips. By the time the sun sets, our bellies and buckets are full. We've eaten as many of the sweet strawberries as we could, but we do not discard the bitter ones. In the morning, when we rise, our mouths coated with night breath, we'll use these sliced berries as spatulas to scrape the sourness from our tongues. We'll dry them in the sun to make loofahs to scrub away our sweat and grit. For fragrance, we'll line our berries on our tub and watch the steam-induced crimson juice slide down the ceramic side to mingle with our muddied waters. We'll stand together, spraying ourselves completely clean, patting shower droplets dry with the berries' soft leaves. And then, having perfected the callus smoothing cream, we'll rub the grains into each other's skin, gently, gently. Thank you.
Thank you. Every version of a strawberry appeared in that excerpt. Thank you, Cassandra. Yum. And I think we want to hear from Shonda. So I remember, if the timing's right for you, I remember, way back a year ago, I wanted you to bookend this series. I felt like having you at the first event and the second to close this off would be just like the pillars that hold up the entire arc. So I'm so grateful that you could be back with us again, and can't wait to hear what you're going to read. I know you've been working on a lot of new stuff, which is exciting, but it's yours now. So take it away.
So can I just say, I am so full. I am so incredibly full from the readings tonight. I mean, just such a varied and diverse and beautiful representation of voices of LA poets, right? So I'm so grateful. I am at the airport. You might hear a little background. So it's kind of quintessentially a Los Angeles moment.
Exactly. Keeping it real.
So right. Keeping it real. So one of the things I've been working on, and I'm working on this collection of poems called Artificial Earth about the quote unquote settlers of Los Angeles who were mixed race settlers. And they were actually 2 Africans, 1 Spaniard, 1 European, and 9 indigenous Indians from Mexico, and then a couple, and then Creoles, I guess. So there were 11 families, 22 adults, and 22 children. So this poem that I'll read is from that collection, and it's a poem for the last surviving original settler, who was Maria Guadalupe Gutrudes Perez. She was the wife of Jose Marino, who became one of the leaders in that original settlement. And they came in 18. Oh my gosh, she was born in 1760, so they came in 1771, and she died in 1860. So I like to do a little singing, because I since I'm honoring her as an indigenous person, as a mixed race person, I want to share a song that I learned in the mountains of Los Padres National Forest in California. And this is just one of the songs that I learned, and then I'll read the poem. The river, she is flowing, flowing and growing. The river, she is flowing down to the sea. The river, she is flowing, flowing and growing. The river, she is flowing down to the sea. She could hear the chorus of her own heart tasted Sonora, her father's Africa, her mother's mestizo on her lips. Spirit slave songs and the ceremony of maracas rested in the small of her back. Her children could hear old people trailing her as she walked the mission halls, crossing herself with shadows and memories. The inglorious back-breaking trek her people made to bring the cross to the city of angels, already named despite the nations who lived here. Their journey changed the world. Maria remembered how those men thought they could draw lines to capture the spirits of a people who could never be caught. They were more bear and dolphin than man and woman, more wolf than human, walked like rivers were beneath their feet, the ocean their mother, the smoke and ash of good fires their ancestors, drawing a line around a circle to create a city that didn't exist, didn't make you a king or an artist. Lines were simply lines, not homes, not ethnicity, not laughter, not love. Her 100-year-old mulatto blood, the memory of hunger, the devastating job of mothering a new world outlived their lines. She was the last of angels. She heard them singing her name as they came for her like friends on the Gabrielano wind. So thank you, Janice Littlejohn. I did a talk for the Los Angeles Institute for the Humanities, and Janice said, "Why aren't you reading more of those poems?" so I said, "Okay, let me get these poems, out and start reading them." But I have about 25 poems now, just really talking about the founders and then also the coming together of how the quote unquote settlers, I keep calling them settlers because how can you settle a land that the people are already here, right? Right, the Chumash, the Gabrielano, Tanda, Kich, the Tehachapi, the Tule River, there's so many nations already here. So I'm still working with that idea and that concept of artificial earth, how you create community on top of community. So this next poem, when we think about joy, it's interesting because some of the work that we do as artists of color, even in the pain, there's joy in the creation of the work, right? There's a joy in the sense of testifying to something that happened that has not been said before, or it hasn't been said the way that we say it. And so this poem is a Black Lives Matter poem. But for me, the joy is in not letting these things pass us by. And particularly when, those three young brothers were, shot at the UVA, the football players. And I just saw their faces. Ooh, and I'm like, wow, when will it stop? When will it stop? So this poem, I hear my father, a Baptist preacher, saying, "Stop testifying, stop preaching, and read the poem." All right. Return the white breath to its Black body. Return the bullet to its gun. Return the gun to its holster. Return the hand to its side. Return the officer to his car. Return the car to its garage. Return the key to its pocket. Return the pants to the floor. Return the scalding coffee to its pot. Return the hot dawn to the night. Return the sound of lovemaking to the room. Return the child's lips to her father's cheek. Return the arrest warrant to the computer, the counterfeit 20 bill to its pocket, the knee to its straight position, the officer's body to the car. Return the car to its garage, the gas to the pump, the stars to the sky, the anger to its pocket, the door to its closed position, the bells to jingled silence, the chokehold from around his neck. Return the big man to his home. Return the taser to its holster. Return the rope from around her neck. Return the jail cell open. Return the sister to her car. Return her shadows lining the road to the night. Return, return, return. Return the bullets from her door. Return their steps to the sidewalk. Return the SWAT to their vans, the vans to the garage, the Skittles to the candy aisle, the boy to his room, the hoodie to its closet. Return, return, return the whip to its belt. Return the scars from her back. Return the hand to its side, the ships to the sea, their bodies to Africa. Return the resources to the land. Return the land to the mothers. Return their tears to their eyes. Return the jewels to their hair, the whisk to their hands. Return, return. Return the earth to its cosmos. Return the white breath to its black body. Yeah, that's a litany poem. And the last poem that I will read, I'm so inspired. And Cody, thank you. WeHo, thank you. Mike, thank you. Kat, thank you. Cassandra, Bridgette, Tracy, I'm so incredibly grateful for your words. And you all inspired me to read this poem. I don't read this one often, but it's my COVID poem of please somebody touch me, right? So this is We Are All Angels. Every horn honking, every fence, every line for a club, restaurant, taco joint, bar, Korean spa, nail shop, hoagie truck, Grand Central Market, midnight movie, skylight books, reading, every line, I'll stand in it. Every child's frisbee, wild sand kicked in my lap, Yale and Santa Monica Beach home, and I'll suffer it. Every Beyond Baroque board meeting, every Beverly Hills Wilshire attitude, every South Central, I got you cuz embrace, every Leimert Park Sunday jazz lace traffic brunch, every morning of clamor, South Central Pasadena parrots and peacocks left behind. Every DTLA gentrification layered on top of my gritty haunted streets. Every secret bridge, killer workout stairs, Venice Beach, Botox muscle monster. Every parking lot chump who takes my space. Every exhaust filled freeway I wish away. Every 405, 10, 110 accident I prey on as I inch past. Every strip mall, every child star, every digital nomad, every unsheltered human, every millionaire in Trader Joe's, every red carpet neck craning, I love you, Denzel moment. I will take it. Give me your Jamaican roti, your Ethiopian dorowat, your little Tokyo sushi. Give me Greek theater, open sky kisses. Give me drag queen love. LA with your Twilight Mulholland Drive window streaming love song. Your San Gabriel Valley winds struck up by Shuma, Shampanva, and Queen Khalifa ghosts. And those gangbangers we loved anyway, now seeding and fault lines under our feet in this place we call home. I miss your Olvela Curanderas, I miss your Boyle Heights, Chiapas desert skin, your crooked Sunset Boulevard smile, your Hollywood hat tip fingers, your county check arms around me. Girl, I miss your desperation, your sweat, your glossy lips on my forehead, sky bar, skyline, eyes, Friday, Juma, Stillmar, sweat lodge, sage smoke in my hair. I miss your cowboy dust, your Pio Pico Mexican, Black Mexican governor past, your migration future. I miss you, LA. I long for you in my sleep. Won't you come back to me? I am still single in this beautiful mad iguana, quiet saddle blanket night. You, my love, my favorite hiking trail, my morning grass wheat shot, my Yemenia ocean, my Mahutas bear dance, my Essowan bookstore solitude, my Angel Flight magazine, my writer's heaven. I will not run. I am a Sade song playing long into a community college night. I miss you, LAX. And if you set me free, I will not run. If you set me free, I will not run. I will be here when you wake up.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Again, I'm so grateful, Cody. Thank you for asking me to book in. Thank you.
Shonda, beautiful, moving. We had tears. Yes, thank you. I'm just thinking about the creative fire that each of these writers forged to bring you all the poems, the paragraphs, everything that you heard tonight as an audience. It came out of the forge of your creativity, and it's awesome to behold. And I'm wondering, Shonda, I think you mentioned this, and it's come up a couple times tonight, and so maybe we can hear from everyone around what part of your writing practice is the part that sustains joy, or where do you connect with it? When does it happen? What does it feel, touch, look, taste like? What am I missing here?
I think I talked about it already, so I'll let someone else jump in.
Well, I'll go. It might be kind of apparent that mine would be food. I mean, food, when I'm stuck or when I'm feeling down or disconnected, anything that gets me into that sensual place. Food makes me think of my grandmother who taught me how to cook while my single mom was away working out of town. So everything from, making cornbread from scratch to my favorite Thai place to, gumbo. Just all food. And my beverage of choice is tea, and I love whole leaf tea where I can see, if it's got pumpkin seeds in it, and whatever it is that helps me feel like I'm taking care of myself, nurturing myself. Whenever I go into my writing room, I usually have a cup of tea. So those are some pick-me-ups for me. Oh yeah,
same here.
And a beautiful mug too, beautiful saucers, beautiful bowls, and all those things that just help me feel connected to the earth and appreciating the earth. The color green, as you can also see.
Yeah.
Just little things that help me feel loved and a sense of joy so that I can go do the hard stuff.
I was just thinking when Shonda read the piece about missing LA, that was the part of the writing process for me that I missed the most, was going to readings, and virtually or in person, but really being in a room full of people who cared about this thing that I really cared about. And I'm an introvert, which is hard to believe, but it's true. And I save my little bit of social interaction up for the readings. Like I don't do much else. And so I really missed having that time to plug in, and it really, you leave them feeling so full like almost like I would feel like I was dragging the like leaving, like I have so much on me now, like I'm leaving here like grandma gave me 30 plates to take home. That's what it feels like, right? You know, a little something extra for tomorrow, like every time you would leave a reading. And so I'm glad that we have virtual readings to kind of come in and help fill that plate again, because that was a part that I really missed. It was hard to write in isolation, literal isolation. And it was hard to write thinking that I wouldn't get to share it ever again. Like, you know, I have to just hold on to these poems in a year or 8 months, or what we say, 8 weeks, I think was the initial count, you know. We'll get back in 8 weeks. Like, it just felt weird. Like, why am I writing? I won't be able to see anybody. And not because you want to show off or you want to have that, but it's like, I want to bring this into a room and make friends, right? I want to come into a room and share and see my poems bounce off of Traci's poems and off of Cassandra's pieces and off of Shonda's poems. I want to see that happen. And that's the part that always brings me joy. So I'm always booked and busy because I'm always saying yes, because I want to get out and play again, because it really makes me feel good. So yeah, that's the part of my writing process that just, it makes me happier than the writing, honestly, sometimes. You know, the poems are the poems, but the people are the people, and the people are where it's at.
Yeah, ditto. I can't agree with that more than that. I just, you know, I was thinking about how I meant to say before we started, I was like, I have to ask if before we end the event, if we could just have like a couple minutes to loiter after this, because I always have this like shock that happens like after an amazing thing like this online, and then we're like, okay, that's great, thank you everybody, good night, and it's boom, like, webinar has been ended by the host, and I'm just sitting here on my desk like, oh my god, what am I guess I'll like go walk and get a boba or something. So I do feel the same, like just this kind of space. It sometimes I feel like I'm an ambivert, you know, so I am somewhere between, or a mixture of extro and introvert. And sometimes a lot of times it takes me so much to just leave to go to a thing that I've said yes to. But I always trust it's kind of like my relationship with running. Like I never feel bad after, you know, and I think especially with readings, you know, even I remember the thing that Lynn Thompson hosted where there was like 60 people reading, and I remember thinking, whoa, that's such a marathon, am I going to make it? And then I was like, oh my god, this is like heaven. This is like heaven, you know. So yeah, but these are the spaces that keep me going for sure.
I agree. I have to say, just for me, just really quickly, one of the things that refuels me, even if I'm writing something that's hard, the spaces that I get to come back to, the poetry spaces, World Stage, Beyond Baroque, readings at Skylight, you know, those that refuels me. But also the sun, like the sun in LA is different from the sun anywhere in the world. And like that, it charges me. Literally this morning, I opened up my shade and the sun coming through felt like ancestors on my shoulders. And I know this poem is coming. I didn't get a chance to write that, but it was like, we're here. So the sun charges me. There's something different about this land.
Yeah, I noticed that today. I mean, it was just kind of the perfect temperature. And I went outside and I was like, oh, I could just sit here. What if I could just sit here all day? That would be gorgeous. So I wanted, because in the work that was presented tonight, there's no shortage of tragedy and harm and the sorrow, right? That humans inflict on one another. And I'm wondering if you, as writers who have come through that in your creative process, if you have some advice for, or just, you know, reflections on how you personally come out of a bad time or place. If I can put someone on the spot, I appreciated, Traci, your poem of advice to a friend, in your book, about depression, you know, the litany really of the mechanics almost of lifting yourself out. I was wondering if you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. I haven't memorized my book at all, so I don't know where that piece is, but I know what you're talking about. It's a piece where I think it's a really long title. It's, oh, here, yeah, for the friend who says they don't feel the need to ask for help or get therapy. Is that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I write because I think about, sometimes I write because I think about what are the conversations that I want to have more. You know, when I put something out, you know, when anyone puts something out, we know that, you know, it then takes its own life on, and it's going to lead us to hopefully more conversations, right? And so I think that piece was coming from this place of, you know, speaking to definitely one too many people who, and when I say therapy, I mean it in many ways, the ways in which we all can access and get therapy, and the different forms of it as well. And so, you know, I don't know, did you want me to speak more on the depression itself or the writing of the piece, or?
I appreciated it. It almost felt like, try this, you know, like that spirit of keep trying, you know, it might not work.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So after the piece, because I really talk about like the way I feel when I'm in a hole. And for me, a lot of times it's related to the physical, actually. When I get sick or tired, I have sort of a downward spiral sometimes where I feel useless. And then I feel like, hopeless, right? So I needed to write a note to self after that piece. And that's where I just did a litany of like, what are the things I need to do? I need to, like, you know, do some boxing. Like I need to hug my cat, I need to run, I need to drive, I need to sing, I need to dance, I need to paint, you know, whatever the F I need to do to, like, you know, employ some of the tools that I learned from previous years of therapy to, like, just do something, do one little thing. It doesn't matter if I'm attaching worthiness or usefulness or impact on the world to it. It's just like, just do some little thing, you know? So, yeah.
Yes. How about others? How do you get yourself out of a tough spot?
I'll be honest, when the pandemic started, and I think Tracy and I had a reading like very early, and I'm like, I cannot write poetry. Like that was always the answer. I'm in a tough spot. Things are hard. I can write about it. I can write it out. I can get it out. My therapist calls them like little sarcophagi. Like I'm just, you know, burying them for a little bit. And I couldn't do it. And so I did something completely antithetical to like all the other processes of my life. And I think Tracy mentioning, you know, attaching productivity to certain things can make it feel like it's too heavy. I just started doing any old kind of thing. I was like, what can I do? I need a hobby. What can I do? I started reading romance novels. Now listen, I love a good book like the rest of us, but I always read really sad books. That's just my thing. I'm a poet, okay? I write about death, it's the thing. And suddenly I was reading all these like fluffy, sweet, smutty, ridiculous, fantastical, extra real, whatever it was. I read them all, monsters, unicorns, dragons, whatever. Because I needed something that was so separate, like from real life. I didn't want it to feel, I didn't care about it feeling real. I wanted to be happy, right? And I remember thinking, okay, so we can all just find a thing that we're not worried about the other stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that, or be productive in any way, or attach itself to a commission or a rate or an interest from anyone else outside of ourselves. Just find that thing and don't be ashamed about it. I just saw a young lady who was collecting tiny toys or like tiny somethings from Walmart, like these little surprise boxes of like little tiny Lay's potato chips, like whatever makes you feel happy. And it could be the thing you least expect. Try it. Indulge in it. Because the rest of the world is going to be there. The problems will be there when you're done. Okay, but you'll be stronger to handle them. Like that's literally what we're trying to do, is like recuperate, rest. And sometimes resting for people who like to be active, like a lot of us, is doing something. Okay, well, do a thing that won't exhaust you.
Mm.
right? That's just for you. Do a thing that nobody else is really worried about. Don't worry about me. I'm over here. I'm coloring. Mind your business. Like whatever it is, do that thing. So that's what I do. I read romance novels, and it gets me. I got one in my earbud for later because it's been a long day. Okay, it's like a cup of tea, like Cassandra's tea. I'm queuing up a romance novel. She's drinking tea.
Wait, can I let me one up your romance novels.
Oh.
So I during let me see who's listening to me. During COVID, I channeled my inner Beyonce, my inner like Cardi. I was like, I just can't, I need something, right? I just need something. And literally, like sometimes I just Ice Cube, today is a good day. You know, I didn't have to use my AK. So like music became something for me, and music that wasn't attached to like my creative process. Just like to have that, you like the romance novels, that kind of music in my mind. And I realized when I think about how I would blast it 10 times, dancing in my car, right? We the car dancing. Look, give you bucks. Wow, look, give you bucks. So, but I realized sometimes that's probably why what I have in my mind is like gangster movies in LA, particularly, why folks would like blast their music, do the Crenshaw crawl, is because life was hard, right? They were in the GHETTO and like in being oppressed, you know, in the ghettos and beat by police officers. But if they blasted their music, if they were in their car, sometimes music could just erase that. It could just erase the sorrow. And so for me, music, and particularly not classical music, was my go-to.
The right song can come on and it's just like up, you know, you're there. Takes you back to that really happy time. We're running out of time. This is sad, but yet also this was brilliant. So I can't mourn it. I'm so grateful for everyone who came, to our audience, to our writers. We're reaching the end. So if there's any final words, I'd love to hear them. And also final's not actually the right word. The last word for now, maybe.
Thank you so much. So grateful for everybody in this space. And yeah, thank you.
And I guess I should say, you know, this series is coming back February 8th. We're coming back in person in West Hollywood at the Council Chambers. I'll be sending more info about that. And then following that, we have a star-studded lineup for a February event, which I'm going to save the thunder for later, but it's going to be impressive. And it'll roll on from there. So with that, Bridgette, Cassandra, Traci, thank you so much. Shonda, it's a pleasure as always. Kat, thank you for being here and for really being the gel that moved us in the right directions to connect with each other. To the City of West Hollywood, thank you for the opportunity to put this all together. And to our audience, you can find all of these wonderful, wonderful authors at a bookstore, at a festival, at a literary reading near you. They are not going away. You're going to be seeing them again and again. I'm gonna press stop on some things, but there will definitely be a post game for this crew. Mike, thank you so much.
Group photo.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shonda, Traci, Bridgette. This is wonderful. You brought joy to us. So
Screenshot.
Oh.
Screenshot. Someone.
I got it. I'm on it. All right.